Pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. That's the reality most people try to avoid, but it's the truth you need to face if you ever want to reach greatness. You're going to hurt. You're going to feel like it's not worth it. There will be nights when you question everything, your purpose, your ability, your direction. But understand this. Pain is a sign that you're growing, that you're pushing beyond what's comfortable, that you're stepping into a version of yourself most people are too afraid to meet. See, the problem isn't that the journey is hard. The problem is that too many people expect it to be easy. They think success comes with convenience, that dreams are achieved without sacrifice, but that mindset is exactly why they stay stuck. When things get uncomfortable, they run. When obstacles appear, they fold. But you've got to be different. You've got to look at pain and say, this is part of my story. Because every successful person you admire has endured moments where quitting seemed like the only option. But they made a decision in those moments that changed everything. They stayed. They fought. They refused to let temporary discomfort dictate permanent regret. And that's where the separation happens. That's where average people fall off and greatness keeps going. You see, quitting doesn't just stop your progress. It rewrites your identity. It tells your mind that when things get tough, you walk away. And once that pattern is set, it shows up everywhere, in your goals, your relationships, your future. But when you push through pain, when you keep going despite every reason to stop, you build something far more valuable than success. You build resilience. You build a mindset that says, no matter what comes my way, I don't break. And that mindset, that's what carries you when motivation fades, when support disappears, when the results are slow. Because let's be real, there will be days when you don't feel inspired, when nobody is cheering for you, when it feels like your efforts are going unnoticed. That's when most people quit, but those are the exact moments that define who you are. Are you going to let a temporary feeling control your future, or are you going to rise above it? Because pain doesn't last forever, but the regret of quitting will follow you for a lifetime. It'll sit in the back of your mind, reminding you of what could have been if you had just held on a little longer. And that's a weight heavier than any struggle you'll face on the journey. So instead of running from pain, lean into it. Let it teach you, let it strengthen you. Let it remind you that you're alive and capable of more than you think. Because every drop of sweat, every tear, every moment of doubt, it's all shaping you into someone who can handle success when it finally arrives. And trust me, it will arrive, but only if you refuse to give up. So the next time you feel like quitting, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this pain worth the price of my dreams? And if the answer is yes, then you already know what to do. Keep going, keep fighting, and don't you dare quit. You don't need motivation, you need discipline. Because motivation is unreliable, it comes and goes like the wind, but discipline stays. Discipline shows up on the days you don't feel like it, on the mornings when your body is tired and your mind is full of excuses. That's the difference between those who dream and those who achieve. Too many people sit around waiting to feel inspired, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for everything to align before they take action. But let me tell you something, that moment is not coming. Life doesn't wait for you to feel ready. Success doesn't wait for your mood to improve. You've got to move regardless of how you feel. That's what discipline is. It's doing what needs to be done even when you don't want to do it. It's waking up early when your bed is calling your name. It's putting in the work when nobody is watching, when there's no applause, no recognition, no immediate reward. Because discipline understands something that motivation never will. Results are built through consistency, not feelings. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You're not always going to feel good about the process. There will be days when everything in you wants to quit, when your energy is low and your confidence is even lower. But if you rely on motivation, you'll stop every time it gets hard. If you rely on discipline, you keep going no matter what. That's how you separate yourself from the crowd. That's how you become unstoppable. You've got to train your mind to follow your goals, not your emotions. Because emotions are temporary, they shift, they change, they lie to you. One day you feel powerful, the next day you feel defeated. But your purpose doesn't change, your vision doesn't change, and discipline is the bridge that connects where you are to where you want to be. It's the system you create that forces you to show up, to put in the reps, to stay committed even when progress feels slow. And let's talk about that for a second, progress. A lot of people quit because they don't see results fast enough. They put in a little work, expect big outcomes, and when it doesn't happen, they lose motivation. But discipline doesn't care about immediate results. Discipline understands that greatness takes time. It's about stacking small wins every single day, even when they don't feel significant in the moment, because those small actions, repeated consistently, turn into massive results over time. That's the power of discipline. It builds momentum. And once you have momentum, quitting becomes harder than continuing, but you've got to start. You've got to commit. You've got to decide that no matter what obstacles come your way, you're going to stick to the process. No excuses, no shortcuts, no backing out when things get uncomfortable, because comfort is the enemy of growth. If you stay comfortable, you stay the same. But when you choose discipline, you choose growth, you choose progress. You choose a future that most people only dream about. So stop asking yourself if you feel like it, and start asking yourself if it needs to be done. Stop negotiating with your excuses and start executing on your goals. Because at the end of the day, motivation might get you started, but discipline is what's going to carry you all the way to the finish line. Your struggle is your advantage, yeah, you heard that right. The very thing you've been complaining about, the obstacles you wish would disappear, the pressure that keeps you up at night, that's not your enemy, that's your edge. See, most people look at struggle and see a reason to stop, but winners, they see a reason to push harder. They understand that nothing great is built in comfort. Diamonds don't form without pressure, muscles don't grow without resistance, and greatness doesn't come without adversity. So if your life feels heavy right now, if it feels like you've been hit with challenge after challenge, don't you dare think that means you're losing. That means you're being prepared, because while others are taking the easy road, you're being forged into something stronger, something sharper, something more resilient. And that resilience, that's what's going to separate you when it's time to perform. Anybody can show up when things are easy. Anybody can smile when everything is going their way. But what about when it's hard? What about when you've failed, when you've been rejected, when nobody believes in you? That's where your struggle becomes your power, because every time you get back up, every time you refuse to quit, you're building a mindset that says, I can handle this. And once you believe that, once you internalize that you can survive anything life throws at you, fear loses its grip on you. You stop playing small, you stop doubting yourself, and you start moving with purpose. See, your struggle is teaching you lessons that success alone never could. It's teaching you patience when things don't happen on your timeline. It's teaching you humility when you fall short. It's teaching you grit when you feel like giving up, and those lessons, they're priceless. Because when you finally reach that next level, when the opportunities come, when the doors start to open, you'll be ready, not just skilled, but mentally prepared to handle it. That's why some people rise fast and fall even faster. They didn't go through enough to sustain what they gained. But you're being built differently. Your struggle is giving you depth, giving you character, giving you a story that no one can take away from you. And let's be honest, nobody is inspired by someone who had it easy. People are moved by those who fought through the odds, who kept going when it didn't make sense, who turned their pain into purpose. That's what you're doing right now, even if you don't see it yet. Every setback you face is setting you up for a comeback, but only if you choose to keep going. Because struggle by itself doesn't guarantee success. It's how you respond to it that matters. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. You can use it as an excuse, or you can use it as fuel, and that choice, that's on you. But if you decide to embrace it, if you decide to see your struggle as a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block, there's no limit to what you can achieve. So stop wishing it was easier and start recognizing that what you're going through is giving you something most people will never have, an unshakable mindset. And once you have that, once you realize that your struggle is not holding you back, but actually pushing you forward, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Because now, no obstacle is big enough, no challenge is tough enough, no setback is strong enough to make you quit. You've been through too much to back down now, so use it, own it, and let your struggle become the reason you succeed. Success is one more step past your breaking point, and that's where most people lose right at the edge of greatness. They get tired, frustrated, overwhelmed, and they convince themselves they've done enough, but enough is not what creates extraordinary results. That last push, that final ounce of effort when your mind is screaming at you to stop, that's the difference between average and elite. You've got to understand that your breaking point is not the end, it's a test. It's life asking you one question: how bad do you really want it? Because anybody can go hard when they're fresh, when they're motivated, when everything feels aligned. But what about when you're drained? What about when you've failed multiple times, when progress is slow, when nothing seems to be working? That's when the real work begins. That's when you separate yourself from the crowd. See, most people quit not because they can't continue, but because they've convinced themselves they shouldn't have to struggle this much. They believe that if it were meant for them, it would be easier. But that's a lie. Greatness demands more. It requires you to dig deeper than you ever have before, to push past limits you once thought were unbreakable. And here's the truth: your mind will give up before your body ever does. Your mind will tell you to stop, to rest, to try again later. It will flood you with doubt, fear, and excuses. But if you can learn to control your mind, if you can tell yourself, just one more step, you unlock a level of strength most people never experience, because that one more step turns into another, and before you know it, you've gone further than you ever imagined. That's how success is built, not in giant leaps, but in small, relentless pushes forward, especially when it's hardest. And let's be real, there will be moments when you feel like you have nothing left to give, moments when quitting seems like the only relief. But that's exactly when you have to go harder. Not because it's easy, not because it feels good, but because that's where your breakthrough lies. On the other side of exhaustion, on the other side of doubt, on the other side of pain, that's where you find out who you really are. And once you get there, once you realize that your limits were never real, that you had more inside you all along, something shifts. You become stronger, more confident, more resilient. You stop fearing challenges because you know you can handle them. You stop backing down because you've proven to yourself that you can go the distance. And that's powerful, because now you're not just chasing success. You're becoming the kind of person who can sustain it. So the next time you feel like you've reached your limit, don't stop. Don't slow down. Don't negotiate with your excuses. Take one more step. Push a little harder, give a little more, because that's where the magic happens. That's where the breakthrough is waiting. And if you can master that moment, if you can train yourself to keep going when everything in you wants to quit, there is absolutely nothing that can stop you.